What's up, everybody? It's your boy Matt, or Matt That's Who, and we're back at it again with another episode of Discussion Avenue. Today we have my friend Destin on the podcast, and if you want to follow him on Twitter, his Twitter is at SavithHDK, and that is SAVITHHDK if you want to follow him on Twitter. And today me and him are going to be talking mainly about Kanye West's Donda album release, which we have a lot to say about that, so that's a majority of it. And towards the end we talk about how we had met in the YouTube wrestling community, reminisce on that, and we even get into a little bit of football talk and talk about his Cowboys and a little bit about my Saints. So yeah, definitely tune in. All right, everybody, what's up? You're back again with Discussion Avenue. We're on episode 3, second official episode technically, with our second guest, and I am hyped to have this guy on. Had to bring him out. It's been a minute since he's been in the space, and his name is Destin. Destin, introduce yourself for the people who don't know you.
How's it going? I'm Destin. I guess if you used to be in the YouTube community when I was like 12, I was Hindturd. Nowadays, I'm a guy who likes to hang out, play video games, listen to music, watch sports, watch movies. From Arkansas, so not really too much special, just your average guy, I guess you could say. You can follow me on Twitter at SavithDK. I'm sure I guess we can get a link somewhere when we tweet it out. But yeah, follow me on Twitter.
Oh yeah, yes sir. I'll put it in the description for sure. But yeah, it was cool because Destin's like an Arkansas guy, so that was cool to having met him. But we'll get into that later. We're gonna get right into it today. We're here because we're here to talk about Donda by Kanye West. And Destin
Donda.
Donda. And Destin is one of the more musically inclined people that I know that keeps up with a whole bunch of music stuff way more than I do anymore now. So he was definitely the guy to have on for this, and me and him, we both really like Kanye going back. I don't know how high he is on Destin's list anymore.
Still love him. Still one of all-time favorites for sure.
Awesome. So yeah, without further ado, let's just jump right in here with Donda by Kanye West. Your first impressions, I guess we can kind of start with how the first kind of listening show went.
We got to talk about the rollout just in general.
The rollout was something.
Yeah, it was, Kanye always likes to do something special for his rollouts. You have the Yeezus rollout, and even going back to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, like with the Good Fridays, he's always done something crazy. But this one was just like got a little out of hand, I guess, where he just had like all these like giant listening parties and just kept delaying and delaying and delaying the album. I guess it was a ride for everyone who decided to pay attention.
It definitely was. My man was selling out more seats than the Falcons do at their own stadium. So I will give him that to him. And then the man decided to freaking live in the stadium for a couple weeks, had Mike Dean held hostage in there doing work.
Dude, Mike Dean, that man's a workhorse. What a legend. Yeah, he's an absolute legend. Poor guy. I saw like one night he was like losing it on Twitter. And everyone's like, "What's going on with Mike Dean?" And they were like, "Dude, you gotta go finish Donda." He's like, "Mike Dean owns Mike Dean." He like tweeted something like that. He was having a rough time, but they finally put it out.
Yeah, I was keeping up with that, and then the whole setup with the day it actually dropped. Like I just saw someone post on Instagram. I saw someone share a post from an Instagram of like Kanye's manager apparently, and he said Donda at 8 a.m. I said, yeah, this ain't coming. It actually dropped. I was like, so confused.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, go ahead.
And then Kanye was like, oh no, the album wasn't supposed to come out, and then they took it off Apple Music. I don't think they took it off the other streaming platforms, but as of right now, it's actually back on Apple Music, so that was cool. But I actually hit the download button, so I still had it. So that was good. But yeah, this whole rollout was crazy. From the first listening show, I only watched the first one because he did these things late at night. The stream would start and he wouldn't actually start the live show for like an hour and a half or something.
Yeah, every single time.
It was ridiculous. And so I was able to get through the first one and listen to it because I was pretty hyped to hear the album. And the thing with the first listening event is the album sounded so unfinished at that time.
Oh man, yeah, absolutely.
And I think the biggest pop, I guess you could say, of that first event was at the end when he played Jail and you heard the Jay-Z verse. That was definitely.
Exactly. That was the first thing that, actually made me be like, oh, I was honestly, because you really, the way it was, it was like, what am I even listening? I just like wasn't even sure what was going on, honestly. I just felt like he kind of just had me there for freaking 4 hours that night. And then finally the Jay-Z thing happened. I was like, all right. And then the album didn't come out, which was to be expected, to be honest. Like, I don't like anybody who's followed Kanye for a while was pretty dadgum sure that dadgum, you can tell from the South, was pretty sure that that album probably wasn't going to come out that night.
Yeah, I agree, and especially just listening to the album, because I'm like, yeah, I think you and me even talked about it during that, and I said, yeah, this album does not sound finished at all.
It was not. And you can tell with the amount of changes that have happened ever since then. Like, the album's gone through, and a lot of the same songs are there, but different versions, different verses, different lengths, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so it was definitely a Kanye West rollout, just to put
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, and this one worked. I mean, like, you saw, like, he broke a lot of records with the release of this. I think this is probably his biggest initial album release in a long time, and it just probably has to be because of that rollout and the way it was covered in all the news. And he just made sure it was like Kanye does. He really kind of worked the media, worked the culture to where it make this album just absolutely huge, to where everyone was listening to it.
That is very true, and just getting people talking about your album, and as I always say, or as they always say in media, any publicity is good
Oh
publicity.
yeah,
So just
absolutely,
so
absolutely.
so just getting it out there, and people always tweeting about it and saying, "Oh, this man, he's in Atlanta tonight. He's in Atlanta again. He's living in Atlanta Stadium, and now he's in
And then he's
Chicago."
live streaming it, the entire thing from his, like, pulling a Frank Ocean, just streaming himself for, I guess, how sleeping at one point. He was streaming himself even sleeping. It got a little weird, but he
Yeah,
did
it
it.
really was. It really was. And then, so I guess we can get straight to the album. The album finally came out. And what's your overall thoughts on the album? Then we can kind of get to individual songs.
I mean, I still think it's a little unfinished. Uh, I mean, heck, it's an hour and 48 minutes long. I think it's a very long album. That was my initial thought when I saw this thing. I was like, whoa, like usually, I was like, I don't know how, like, it was kind of like intimidating to like get through. It was like, I'm gonna have to listen to all this. And the first time I listened to it, I was kind of underwhelmed. But then about the second listen, some of the songs started to really settle in for me. But I think there's a really, really good album in here somewhere. I don't think it's one of his best albums by any means. I do think it's a lot better than his most previous one, Jesus is King. Uh, and I think there's, like, it's a solid addition to his discography, unlike his most recent one, in my opinion. I think this adds something. It's different. It's another chapter of the Kanye West cycle, and it's good, but I just think it's way too long, and I think it takes away from a lot of the good parts of the album. And we'll get to the tracks, but I just think it could have been trimmed down a lot, and he could have had a better album.
I definitely agree with that because as I was listening to the album, I was listening to it a little while ago, making some little notes as I was going, and I was writing down some of the songs. Like, is this really necessary? Does this have to be
Yeah.
here? And I think I got like maybe 8 songs that you could have trimmed off, and if you take off like those 8, maybe 7 songs somewhere in that, it would be like a really, really good album. Like,
Yeah,
really good.
absolutely. Absolutely. It could have been
And
really good.
yeah, exactly. And that's just the problem of it. Um, I guess the first thing I want to say about the album is pretty much kind of mirroring what you said. Very long album. And it's kind of weird considering a couple years ago he was normalizing the fact of, hey, I'm putting out these very short, like 30-minute albums with like his whole crew and good music. He had the Pusha T Daytona. He had his album Yay come out that was really short. Kids See Ghosts was a pretty short album and fantastic it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
With being that short, it was pretty much trimming off any sort of hanging pieces, I guess you could say, that could have been on the album. And so it's really weird to see that contrasted here. But I mean, we're in an age where streaming is very huge, of course, and the more songs you have on your album, it helps your numbers. I mean, look at all of Drake's projects that he
Yeah,
comes
you
out
make a
with.
fair point. Or like Culture 2 or whatever, like these, they're just like throw in it's almost like You make a good point though with how like well he did those 24-minute albums. Like, Yay, great album. Daytona, great album. Kids See Ghosts, in my opinion, one of his best albums. Like, he really kind of nailed it there. And it was like, we live in this day and age where people like have a short attention span, and people were starting to say, "Hey, is this going to be a new thing where people are making these Roy Short albums?" And then he just turns around and makes the longest album he's ever made.
I know.
But which is just classic, I guess, Kanye at this point, right? Just to do what you would not expect. But yeah, I mean, like you said, live in a day and age of streaming where it's like the more tracks he has out, the more it's gonna be played. And I guess, yeah, I guess that is definitely played into it because you could tell in comparison to some of his previous albums, he definitely wanted this album to chart well. And there's even those rumors of him wanting to go head to head with the Drake album. So he definitely wanted this
Yeah.
thing to do well.
Yeah, he definitely did. And I think it's probably better to not go head to head with Drake because I feel like
Yeah,
Drake could fart on a track and it would
literally.
literally be the number one thing in the
Yeah,
world.
and I think Kanye has a little bit of that too. But I do think if there's any album that he could have like gone head to head with him with the rollout and how hype it was, probably would have been this one. This one was just so talked about, and as you can see, like with the numbers it did, it's his biggest release since who knows when. We'll figure that out soon at the end of the month. But
Exactly.
I think he could have competed, but like you said, Drake could literally just like, everybody's seen the TikToks of the guys just like listening to the beat. He's like, "That's new Drake." Like you ain't even got to hear it. Everybody's already talking about it.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. As far as some of my favorite tracks off here, I'm just gonna get this one out the way because I'm sure everyone likes this song. Off the Grid is an
Absolutely.
absolute banger of a track. I mean,
Yeah.
um, I don't know how to say the guy's name, but Fivio, I want to say,
Yeah. Fivio
man,
Foreign or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, Fivio Foreign, however you say his name. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, but man, he came through and delivered a really great verse. And that's one thing about Kanye West and his albums. There's always some random person I've never heard of in my life that jumps on
Absolutely.
and they just blow me away. Like for instance, 070 Shake on
Oh
Yay
my
is
gosh. Yeah. It's like the
it,
best song on the album.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's just wild how he does that. And I mean that's a theme with Kanye West with all of his features and whatnot. Because Off the Grid also has Playboy Cardi, and I don't really listen to Playboy Cardi. I don't know about you, Destin.
Yeah.
But he actually sounded good on here.
Yeah.
So that's one thing this man can do. He can get the best out of people, and people always go back and remember like the Nicki Minaj verse on Monster and other examples like that where he just brings out the best in people. And it's just crazy how he does that.
Yeah, absolutely. This Off the Grid, one of my favorite songs on the album, might be my favorite. Like you said, really brings out the best out of the guys. I'm not the biggest on Playboy Cardi. I've heard his stuff. This is so like, it's pretty like it's the way he sounds, but just on this beat, I will say reminds me kind of like Yeezus, like Freestyle 4 in a way. You know how the beat was just kind of like a little crazy and like spastic. It kind of reminded me of that. And the Kanye verse is just crazy. He's all over the place, just really rapping his ass off, which is great to hear because that's something that was I felt like was kind of missing when I was listening to some of the listening parties. Like, when's he gonna rap? I want to hear him rap his ass off. And even on his last album, Jesus is King, he really there was like one song where it felt like he was really rapping, or like that. I can't remember what it was called, but that's what it says. That says what I think about that album. But to hear him rap like that was just fantastic. The beat of this song, it almost felt like a really good like posse cut. Like this song was just like fantastic. Like I've listened to it at least 10 times since it came out.
Oh yeah, it's really good, and definitely people are going ham on it with TikTok because
Oh yeah, are they?
TikTok's loving it. Yeah,
That's
because
good.
my For You page for some reason it's like a whole bunch of Donda. I don't know why.
Dude, it's huge.
Yeah, and it's just I hear that song constantly on there, so that's good.
That's good. That's how songs blow up now. Like if you're gonna be the number one song, you got to be on TikTok. Like, there's no way around it.
Yeah, I mean, would Lil Nas X even be a thing if TikTok wasn't around and
No
music?
way. No way.
It's crazy to think about how that app pretty much runs
Yeah.
freaking music charting.
Yeah. There's tons of stuff we could go into.
Yeah, exactly. To go off into the next track, I'll just go right into the next track actually, because that's another standout for me is Hurricane. And Hurricane is a song that's had like a million different versions over the years, and it was supposed to be on Yandi officially, and it's just gone through the ringer different ways and different ways it was sounding. And I really like the fact that he added Weekend. Weekend like made a post saying I would really like to work with Kanye West, and then Kanye slides in his DMs and like, hey, Weekend, come through. And man, I'm a Weekend fan, so I really enjoyed hearing it, and I thought he sounded really good on Hurricane, and that's another standout track for me.
Yeah, I thought it was all right. I really like what The Weeknd's done recently. I thought his album last year was really good. Thought it was one of his better ones, and I really like these two together on FML. So I was like kind of hyped for this track. Personally, it just like didn't really like live up for me. I don't know. I feel like something about it, just maybe the way he mixed The Weeknd's voice. I don't know. I was kind of underwhelmed by this one.
I forgot about FML. Why did Weekend post that he wanted to work with Kanye West? I
Yeah,
guess he wanted to
but
work with him again.
I mean, I think that's like that song's awesome. Like the way Weekend sounds on that song. So I was like,
Yeah.
expect something kind of that level. But and like I said, The Weeknd is, I loved his album last year. I think, like I said, I think it's one of his better ones. He had like the biggest song of the year. I think it was one of the better popular songs in a while. Like I think he's been doing really good, and the song's good. I was just a little underwhelmed, I guess.
Okay. I mean, to each their own.
For
And
sure.
then and then it finishes off on a 3-song run. I thought it was a good 3-song run with Off the Grid, Hurricane, and Praise God. I really like Travis Scott does Travis Scott things, and
Exactly. Yeah.
when I can get hyped for a Travis verse here and there, and I really like Baby Keem. I really do like him. His album that he came out with 2 years ago, I think now, it's still in rotation for me. So I really like Baby Keem on pretty much anything, and his new track with Kendrick is amazing. But Praise God, fun song. That's pretty much all I gotta say about it. It's a good song.
Yeah, Baby Keem, not bad. You know, his verses, he's a good rapper. He definitely does his thing on here. You know, Travis Scott, like you said, I do kind of feel like this kind of just sounds like a Travis Scott song at some points.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, there's nothing like it's not bad by any means. I think it might be one of the ones that I could have done without on the album.
Okay,
But
I feel
just
you.
because it sounds like a Travis Scott song, like that would be what I have to say about it.
Now, I didn't really mean to go in order on the songs, but it just turned out this way because the next 3 tracks, Jonah, Okay, Okay, and Junior, you could have scrapped them all, and I would have been okay. Honestly, I don't know how
Yeah,
you feel about those.
and I mean Junior's on here twice, right?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
what's going? And I will say it's like a little catchy thing. He's like the Junior I'll be on my re like it's kind of catchy, Like I think it's
Yeah.
like a catchy little hook. But I agree, you could have done without those. I guess I would say out of the three, Okay Okay is my favorite. I like
Yeah.
how Kanye gets a little braggadocious on there. He calls himself the GOAT, which is pretty cool. Like I like to hear Kanye feeling himself because we know how he can get sometimes. Lil Yachty though, like, look, I hate to. I'm not trying to be biased or anything, but I can just always do without Lil Yachty. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
I will say this is probably the best I've heard Lil Yachty
He
sound.
does sound fine, but it's just like he's not. Like you said, could have done without the track, and he
Yeah.
didn't really add anything to it for me.
Yeah, he's not moving the needle, but if I had
Yeah.
to ever listen to a Lil Yachty verse, it'd probably be this one. But
The one on Coloring Book, Chance, we can all say what we want about how he's been, but he has that one with Chance on that album that was not bad. I can't remember the name of the song.
I
That's
don't remember that at
only
all,
one that
honestly.
comes to mind. Only one that comes to mind.
Yeah, and I mean, just to talk about the other songs I listed, Jonah, to me it was just kind of boring. It had a really simple beat, and the hook to me, I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Junior, I literally says was this necessary in my notes, and then
Yeah.
always say, of course, there's a Giannis bar in there. He had to get that out there. And I feel like this 3-song run just kind of bored me and hurt the album to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I think, like I said, I think Okay Okay is the best one of the three, but it's definitely a dip in quality from the start of the album.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then it kind of runs into Believe What I Say, and it was a good switch up for sure after those last 3 songs. I really like the Lauryn Hill sample he had in there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a definite switch up in style, and it was much needed after those last 3 songs. So I definitely probably would have kept this song on the album, but it definitely changed up the way I was feeling about it, especially after those last 3 songs. So it kind of helped out.
Yeah, it really stands out on the album. A lot of the songs in the album have a very similar vibe, kind of dark in a way, and this song really isn't that way at all. It's pretty lighthearted. It's a fun song with the Lauryn Hill sample, kind of like a nice breather in the album. Uh, I love Lauryn Hill, love Doo Wop, great song. Uh, and yeah, I think it's a fun song. Something that he had teased it. Everybody was hype about the song. People are happy it's out. I think it's a really good song. I think it's a good song.
Yeah. And then that goes into 24. And look, this is another song I probably could have done without. I like that it's a Kobe Bryant tribute, technically.
Yeah.
Um, I'm down with that, but I just, the song didn't do anything for me, really.
Okay, that's interesting. A lot of people are really high on this song. I've noticed. And I get it. I see how it's a powerful moment on the album, and the
Hmm.
choir sounds really good.
Yeah.
But and I think it's a fine song. I just don't know. I don't know where I'm like. I don't know where I can see myself listening to this.
Exactly. That's my thing. Because
Yeah.
I even said I don't really see myself going back to this. And
Yeah.
as a moment in the album and just listening to it once, sure, it's fine because it's like, oh, cool, he's tributing to Kobe
Exactly.
Bryant, and that's cool because I think about his little promo video he had with Kobe Bryant and that commercial or whatever they had, or the meme or whatever it is that's going on. I actually saw that today, so I was reminded of that. But I mean, it's a cool little moment. But other than that, I don't really see myself going back to it.
Yep.
And then that goes into remote control. This is another song that I could have gone without. I feel
Yeah,
like
and
I'm saying.
my notes just says remote control is not it.
I mean, Young Thug never does it for me. Young Thug, I literally said he makes me sick, and I don't know why. But it's just I don't know what it is with the guy. I still remember when he came out with that one song. What the freak was it that he had that was really big at the beginning? I'm a stoner. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
it was.
stoner.
My friend would be listening to it, and I'm just like, dude, this is this ain't it.
Yeah.
Turn it off.
He definitely has some ones that aren't the best. I do kind of like Young Thug. I wouldn't say I like love his albums or anything. There are a couple of his singles like Two Bitches, Danny Glover. I think that song is like a freaking banger, an all-time banger. I think Young Thug like has his place in the culture and he's like, very influential and changed mainstream hip hop forever, like without a doubt. Like you hear him in basically everyone. But like, like you're saying, like this song, it's not like it's anything special. I don't like the way Kanye sounds on it. I don't really care for the way Thug sounds on it. It's nothing I haven't heard before. Kind of just like a run of the mill song you would hear in 2021 hip hop, your average song, if you want me to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the concept of him being able to control stuff, I think he says something about controlling the world with a phone, pretty
Yeah,
much. I mean, sure, yeah.
there.
I mean that's a thing, sure,
Yeah,
whatever. But yeah,
he's he's funny.
that's how I feel with it. And then it goes into Moon, and I don't even think Kanye's even on this, but I really like Moon. Moon's a really nice interlude in the album, kind of like how I said, "Believe What I Say" is kind of like a nice
Yeah.
refresher. Moon, Don Tolliver, he sounded really good on here. Kid Cudi, I mean, I love the guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sounds
I,
great.
I'm a
Sounds
huge
great.
Cudi fan. So Moon, it was a standout for me, even though it's not really a Kanye song, but
Yeah,
it
it
was
kind
good.
of like reminds you of Frank's track in that way off of Pablo, where
Yeah.
it's just like a good filler. I will say the original version of this song, do you remember that? The one he played, where it just said, I want to go to the moon. I want to go to the moon. It repeated it for what it felt like 3 minutes. Luckily,
Yeah.
that didn't make the album. I think this version is much better. It's tight.
Hmm.
It's short. It's exactly what it needed to be. So I was very happy with the way this one turned out compared to what I was expecting.
Yeah. And with this song, it kind of transitions the album into a different kind of feel.
Right.
You definitely see more religious tones after this.
Mhm.
Because the songs before this, they were more of your normal kind of rap music that you hear today.
Mhm.
And then he goes into more religious tones and self-reflecting tones, which I like more of these songs on this side of the album. For instance, it goes into Heaven and Hell. I think this is a good song, and the sample at the beginning was really cool. I kind of like how the beat progressed with it, and then the song progressed with the choir. I thought it was a really cool song.
Yeah, I actually agree. When I first listened to it, the way he like starts off his flow kind of like put a bad taste in my mouth. But the second time I listened to it, I was like, okay, this is really good. And then when, he really goes through once he like gets into the verse and like you said, the beat progresses, and I love the outro and he brings back the ta 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 like he had on Feel the
Hmm.
Love. I guess I am just gonna be here for any time Kanye does that. It's turned out great every time he's done it. So I thought that was a great song as well.
Yes, sir. And then it goes into another song, which I feel like is kind of like 24, which in the context of the album, sure, you can keep Donda on the song, but I'm not really going to go back and listen to it.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, a piece, I guess, with his mom talking about
Yeah.
his role within the culture of society. I don't really know what the situation is or the context around when she was talking there. I
Hmm.
don't know what that's from. I honestly have no idea. I've never heard that in my life. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it really, I guess it's something personal for him. He's want to put on the album. As far as I can see, it's like, I don't know. It doesn't add anything to the album, doesn't make it better. Just another, yeah, it's just one of the things that could have been trimmed down to make this album a lot easier to digest.
Yeah, I agree. Because, I mean, if you take off 24 and Donda, that's 5 minutes right there just between those two songs. So that would definitely save some stuff. And then you roll into Keep My Spirit Alive. I don't really have a lot to say about this one. I just liked it. That's literally all I put on my notes because I don't really have much to say on it. What do you think about Keep My Spirit Alive?
Yeah, it honestly doesn't really strike a chord with me. I don't remember it too much. I'm gonna pull up the lyrics, but what I have in my notes
Yeah.
is that it was all. This is the one with West Side Gun. Okay.
Yes.
I like the Conway Machine verse. I think the Kanye and Royce thing at the ends, whatever. I'm not as big on West Side Gun as everybody else. A lot of people huge on that guy right now. Haven't bought in yet. But that's just me. I think he has some talent, but I think a lot of room for improvement, I guess, especially as far as like making a song goes. But he's a good rapper for sure. But this song, I don't know. Now that I'm looking at the verses, I do like Conway the Machine. I think his verse is good, but other than that, song didn't do much for me.
Okay. And then it moves into the long song of the album, Jesus Lord. I will say it's a long song, but it's a good song. Kanye speaks on stuff that worries him about seeing his mom in the afterlife and worrying about that. He talks about a family that is seeing death and struggles, which was pretty interesting to hear. And definitely, like, if I'm ever in the mood to sit down and just like listen to a song and its lyrics, this is a song for that. And then Jay Electronica verse comes through, and he's always good. And then he comes on and talks about a bunch of stuff that just goes over my head.
Absolutely. I think the Jay Electronica verse was sick. I think he tapped into a lot of really interesting things.
Yeah.
I think this song really in a lot of ways kind of it's Kanye's getting really personal. He's on his storytelling. Um Kind of reminds me in a lot of ways of Real Friends off of Life of Pablo.
Hmm.
Just because I love it when Kanye gets personal. Oh yeah, that's what Jay Electrona, he has the part of his verse. He says, "But I flew my Ducati through North America like Wakanda. Earthquakes will strike this nation for what Bush did to Rwanda, what the Clintons did to Haiti, Downing Street to Uganda." Like that's pretty good stuff right there. I'm always
Hmm.
that any anti-imperialist lyrics will always get me. So I think this song was awesome. Now the end, okay. I do want to talk about the end of this song. Who is it he has? I'm trying to remember his name. I have it written down here. The son of a gang leader from Chicago, Larry Hoover Jr. And this is on the album twice, right? This song is basically just on the album twice, is it not? I can't remember what the exact differences are the second time it pops up. I think there's another verse added. I think it's Jadakiss maybe. But I think the verses were similar. I think it's the exact same Larry Hoover Jr. thing, if I'm not mistaken, where he's talking about how the society did him and his dad and his family, and I think which he says a lot of smart, interesting things. I feel like this album's literally on the. I feel like the song's literally on the album twice, as good as it is, though.
Yeah, I mean, it technically is because I mean, I feel like all the part two songs, Jail, Okay, Okay,
They
Junior, and
don't need to
Jesus
be
Lord.
there. There is no reason. Let's talk about Jail. Jail Part One is fine, but we got to talk about Jail Part Two
Yeah,
with the bringing Marilyn Manson into Baby and there is absolutely no reason for this song to be on the album.
yeah,
Like it does nothing but give him negative, make him look bad for having a
The baby.
pedophile, the baby, and a potential pedophile, sexual assaulter on his album in Marilyn
Hmm.
Manson, and it literally adds nothing. It adds nothing to the album. You already have a better version of this song with Jay-Z to start the album, and you bring in Jay-Z on it. Like everybody knows what y'all have been through. Everybody was so happy to hear that,
Yeah.
and this almost takes away from that. I'm honestly even mad that this made the album. There is no reason for it to be on it, and his label told him his label was right. And originally they didn't want this on the album. I'll be honest, his label was right.
Yeah. I mean, I agree because for the most part, all these part twos, you just could have done without them.
Could have
And
done without him. They take a yeah.
yeah, because whenever I get to that part, I don't even listen to him. To be honest with you, I think I listened to him one or two times, and that's it because they just didn't do much for me. I mean, if I'm gonna separate the artist from the issues, I mean, the baby's verse is probably one of his better verses. If I'm gonna be
No, yeah,
honest,
he raps well.
he raps well, but I mean, you still could have done without it because I prefer the first jail part just because of the moment with Jay Z, and that's so huge to have him back. It feels like as soon as he divorced Kim Kardashian, Jay Z sent the text, "This is Hove."
Yeah, and he talks about the verse. He kind of goes through what they've been through, how they're back
Yeah,
together, and I think it adds to the album. I think it's great. I mean, it's good. I think the baby raps fine, like said, separating the artist from the I guess controversy, but I still don't think I still think it's basically the same song, and you just have the baby substituted for Jay Z, and I think the Jay Z verse was more impactful, more powerful, and had a place on the album. As to where this one is just like, why is this here?
exactly. It's just I don't understand it, and I feel that way about all these part twos.
Yeah,
But
same.
that's neither here nor there.
Where were we? We were
We're
on.
on Jesus Lord. We just finished
Okay,
that one.
that's right.
New again, and all I gotta say, if I hit you with a WYD, you better hit me with the ha with a bunch.
Okay, yeah. Kanye has like kind of made this his thing ever since he said the the bleach line. What was it he said
Oh
on
yeah,
Famous? Where he just says the corniest shit, but it kind of just like works because it's Kanye, and I feel like that's just this whole song.
yeah,
And I guess it's fun, lighthearted, funny track. It just feels like there's a lot of appropriation on this. I guess I don't know.
yeah. It was.
Not a fan. Not a
I
fan.
I just like to laugh about the very beginning of it. It's just funny to me.
Absolutely.
That's literally all I put in my notes. It's I say it's okay, and then I say ha with a bunch of eyes. It's just funny to meme about. The next one, I mean, Television. It's a Pop Smoke song that's pretty much just taking a Pop Smoke verse from Kanye and putting it in
Yeah.
there. It's about a minute 44. I mean, sure, cool moment. With Pop
Yeah.
Smoke tribute. Rest in peace to
No.
him. But
No disrespect. Rest in peace, Pop Smoke. But this is another one of those things I just feel like didn't need to be on the album.
yeah,
It just kind of like the beat is like it kind of gets hype a little bit, but just goes absolutely nowhere. This goes
yeah,
absolutely nowhere. It literally just like is a little 1 minute and 44 second of something that feels like it's building up to be maybe a hype track, go into a dope verse, but it literally just goes nowhere and ends up just kind of sadly being a waste of space on the album, in my opinion.
yeah. I can agree with that for sure. I think it was taken from a song, and they just took Pop Smoke's verse and
Okay, I guess
put
yeah,
that
he
in.
just wanted to keep him on the album.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's something that Kanye just really felt strongly about, since it's his album, kind of like with the Donda thing, the
Yeah,
Kobe
do
Bryant
your
thing,
thing.
I can see the reasoning for it and keeping it on there. But I mean, when I'm listening to the album, I'm not really going to listen to it myself whenever I go back to it. The next song on here is Lord, I Need You. This is a song I really liked. Kanye's getting real personal, talking about his divorce with Kim and saying how he feels like he still needs her in his life, and how he is missing her and how the divorce is affecting him. I really like these kind of self-reflection type tracks. Sad Boy Hours.
Yeah, for sure.
So I really enjoy this one.
I think it's yeah, I agree. It's kind of nice to hear Kanye open up about that. It's very public marriage, very public divorce, so everybody kind of knew what was going on with that. And for Kanye to put that out there, it was nice to hear because a lot of his fans have been wanting to hear where he's coming from on that. So, like you said, it was nice to hear him talk about that. I think Kanye does a lot of, like you said, self-reflection on this album, and I think it really shines in some tracks like this one, Jesus Lord, Heaven and Hell. I
Hmm.
think, where he just kind of really reflects on himself personally in a way that he's really started to. He started off like that in his career. Then there was a period of time where he didn't, and then Yay was a very vulnerable personal album in my opinion, and
Hmm.
I think a lot of that carried over into this album as well, which
Yeah.
in a good way, in a good way.
Yeah, I agree. He has another self-reflection track that we'll talk about here in a second, but in between those two tracks, he puts "Pure Souls," which is a fun song, and
Yeah, yeah,
he gives the line where he could give $1 to everyone on Earth. That's like a big flex.
yeah. But when I heard that, I just found myself saying, "Then do it." That was what I thought, and I guess the song just kind of has like a little celebratory feel to it, kind of
Yeah.
just like something off of. I keep comparing it to his old songs, but that's something to notice about this album. He's really pulled from a lot of his old sounds on some of these songs, and this one kind of reminded me of Graduation
Hmm.
in a way. Um, and the next one I have, yeah, like I think it definitely kind of reminds me of that. It's not anything that's like, it's okay, it's not amazing, it's not bad, it's just kind of there for me. I like
Yeah.
the beat.
Yeah. For sure. And then it gets to I think it's my favorite song on the album, "Come to Life." This is a standout track to me. He's coming to grips post divorce and dealing with it. Wishes he could live another life. The piano in the middle, oh my
As
goodness.
yeah,
I'm a sucker for a good piano, and it just comes in there, and man, it just wrecks. I love this song. Very self-reflective. Kanye's singing is really good on here. Such a good song. I think a lot of people agree with that though. It's just so good, and the
yeah,
self-reflection, like we were talking about earlier, it's always good to hear about that. Just fantastic song.
yeah. I thought it was a great song. Once again, I'm gonna compare it to one of his old. This reminds me of 808s.
Hmm.
In a lot of good ways. I thought this was a beautiful track. And once again, it kind of Kanye, he kind of has, I can't remember specifically some of the lines, but he kind of plays where it's just that silly, playful type of lyric writing that he does so well. And I think he does that in this song. Um, like you said, I think it's one of the better. Oh yeah, what he says? He says, 3, 2, 1, your pens, Uncle. He says something about should wrote it down in pencil, should have wrote it in pen or something like that.
Hmm.
And like that line is so simple. It's not like what something that would be like the hardest line to write, but it has a lot of meaning to it. It's powerful line, and I think it really just kind of echoes the song. He even mentions Ultra Light Beam, so I think this is a great song. Like you said, approaches his divorce, kind of talks about how he's starting to feel free again. I think
Hmm.
one of the better songs on the album, no doubt.
Yeah, he's talking about trying to see the silver lining post
Yeah,
the come to life thing, and it's just really good. And I'm just gonna kind of skip over "No Child Left Behind" because it was just an outro track. I think he could have done without it. Just have "Come to Life" in the album, honestly.
oh yeah. See, I thought No Child. Who is it at the start of the song? That refrain at the beginning of the song, I think, is like great.
Hmm.
Um, I can't remember who it is. Let's pull it up. I've noticed that there's so many features on this album. You'll have to forgive me. This guy's name is Vori. Yeah, I have no idea who he is, but I think it's very catchy. I think he sounds great. I actually do kind of like this. I think it's just a good moment. I like the way it feels. I do think he could have done more with it, but I really like Vori on this. I think Vori sounds fantastic. Shout out to Vori.
Okay. And just to kind of preface how I feel about the album, I mean, if you take off, let's say, "God Breathe," which we didn't even talk about, but it's just an okay song, so I don't really have
Yeah.
much to say about it. I don't know if you do or not.
Yeah. It's like the beat. Yeah, the beat's cool, but it's a long song, man. It really drags at the end.
Hmm.
I feel like you could have taken 2 minutes off that song and it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, so let's just say Kanye trims the fat on some songs here and there, just takes them off completely. Like
Yeah,
if you do something with "God Breathed," if you take off "Jonah," "Okay," and "Junior,"
yeah. Oh, and I
um,
mean, you can take those off twice,
exactly,
or
just,
except for Jonah, you can take OK and Juno off twice. So
exactly. Just take off all the part twos. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
And if you kind of skip 24, Donda, and what was the other one I said? Television. If you take off those, some of those songs I listed, take off the Vision, take off Remote Control too. Now that I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it, you probably have a really good really great album, I would say
Yeah,
even,
you really do. You really do.
and you could still have some of the songs. I mean, it might kind of screw up his vision that he might have had with having the album kind of like in two halves with a more rap feel on it. Because I feel like more of the rap songs I don't really want on here, especially because I'm taking off three of them in a row, and especially God Breathe. So that's like what, four right there.
Yeah.
And I feel, and Remote Control, because I would list that under there because it's right before the Moon, which kind of separates the album.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm definitely removing more on that side of the album. So it might screw up with his vision of it, but I mean, for my overall listening experience, that's just mine. What I would do to the album.
Yeah, I agree completely. I don't even think if you remove those tracks, it really takes away that much from the idea of the album. I think a lot of the points, a lot of the themes and points in the album, like religion, God dealing with his place in culture as this what he sees, Christian figure who has a role to lead, him dealing with his divorce, him dealing with the death of his mom. I think all those topics are covered in those songs without the ones we just mentioned. So I think, you just take off a bunch of filler and you don't really lose any of the themes. You don't really lose any of the impact of the album. I think like he has a really great album in here that could have been all about those things he wanted to talk about. And he really didn't need those extra songs to even t- talk about those themes.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and that's pretty much my closing thoughts on the album. I'm not really going to put a number on it because I'm not very huge on numbers
Yeah,
with
it's a little
albums.
early for me. You
Yeah,
know, albums, especially, one thing I've learned is, if you would have talked to me about this album Sunday right after I listened to it, I would have had completely different. You know what I mean? I would have sounded completely different talking about it, but it's grown on me, and I've come to appreciate some things about it. But I think before you give it a number, like rank it in his discography, like a lot of people are doing, you got to give it some time to breathe.
yeah, I definitely agree with that because especially with Kanye West albums, they definitely can change how you feel about it. Because I know Yeezus has been that way for me. 808s and Heartbreaks
Oh yeah,
is
and
definitely one.
in my opinion, graduation didn't age as well.
Yeah,
Like, I think Kids See Ghost proves every year to be one of his best. I love that album. I think Kids See Ghost, like, and that's one another thing is good to see him come back just to somewhat of form because Jesus is King, man. It just felt like he really lost complete direction on that album and was just really throwing a lot of stuff together. And I get it. He was talking about, religion and whatever, but it just like seemed like his idea of the Christianity he was rapping about was just very different than I don't know what you learned about. I guess it just didn't seem like he really understood what all he was talking about. This album's a lot more personal, a lot more selfless, not as self-centric. It talks about all kinds of things. I think it's quite the improvement from his last album. And like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I do think despite how long it is, despite all its problems, I think it's a solid addition to his discography.
I definitely agree. And this man get 3 years and he'll be have released albums for 20 years. So that's crazy to think about.
It is
And this was
insane.
his and this is his 10th
It's
one.
insane.
So I'm curious to see what's going to be next for Kanye. If another album will be coming anytime in the future, it could be a while, especially considering how long this album was. But you never know, because I mean, I feel like this guy just works at the drop of a hat, and especially nowadays, because it's just all of a sudden, boom, album coming, and then he has his crazy rollout, which kind of extends it, and then it comes out.
Yep.
So yeah, that pretty much sums up our Donda Kanye West thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's
That was
everything I wanted to say for sure.
yeah, that's definitely good to get out there. And I want to segue this into kind of what I did with Pico last podcast, where we kind of discussed how we had met one another, because a theme here is some people that listen to here are people from my people I've met just growing up, and some people might be wondering, oh, how did you end up meeting these people? And So we're gonna kind of get into that. Destin, what do you recall about how we had kind of met?
Man, so I just remember, we were all I was really young, you're what are you, probably 3, 4 years older than me? I can't
I'm
remember
27
exact.
right now.
Yeah, so you're 3 years older than me. I'm 24.
Okay.
So but like, you were maybe just starting high school or in high school. Can't remember.
Mhm.
I remember you were in algebra and you were always complaining about your doing your algebra homework, always complaining about that. But I was probably in like 6th, 7th grade, and I remember we just made YouTube videos where we would talk about stuff. And I think we started talking to each other as we were either mutual friends with Danny or GJ.
Yeah,
Remember
the way
those
I
two?
remember it, I think we had first chatted on, I think it was the
MSN.
MSN. Yes,
MSN, dude.
freaking MSN. What do people know about MSN these
Dude,
days?
they have no idea. All these kids are spoiled with their Discord. We were back MSN, Skype's crashing your computer, so you're pulling up MSN.
Yeah, I think the MSN chat was me, you, Danny, and Ravi, and
Yep.
might have been someone else. Might have been
GJ and
GJ.
GJ.
Yeah,
GJ was in
GJ.
there for sure. And yeah. Ravi was in there. Those are good times.
Yeah, I think that's how we'd met, and then eventually, I don't know who convinced everyone to go over to Skype on there, but
Yeah.
eventually everyone just moved to Skype, and it
Yeah.
was just like a collision of worlds because you had some people on Skype, some people on MSN, and you finally
Yeah.
combined the two.
Remember there'd always be the little feuds in the YWC. You had Gemini and who is the guy he went at it with?
Iceman.
Iceman, dude, legendary. Literally better, probably better than any feud that was going on in WWE in 2009, if we're gonna be honest. But yeah, that was the content. It was YouTube. I wonder if YouTube still like that, where it like has these like segments of communities where like everybody kind of knew each other like they did back then, and everybody watched each other's videos, and someone would make a video, they'd be like, well, you're wrong, and here's my response to your video. And it'd be like, Gemini shoots on Honor Hammer, not that he ever did, but for saying old wrestling is boring, you know what I mean? Gemini be like, you don't even know about Hulk Hogan, like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about. It
it's
was,
just an example of what Gemini would do, but
oh
I mean,
yeah.
it was. I'm sure it was pretty much an act for the most part. Gemini's a
Oh,
cool guy.
he is. It was just legendary at the time. I remember
Yeah,
as a kid watching those videos, being like, "This is awesome."
yeah, it was really funny. It was very entertaining. Um, but definitely like the YWC is a crazy thing to think about because we all like just grew up there,
Absolutely.
and it's just crazy to think about how we all came together and the fact that like if you guys don't know, I'm from Arkansas. Destin's from Arkansas. The fact that I met someone from Arkansas that makes wrestling videos blew my mind.
Yeah, there was another kid too. Remember?
Yeah, Britain.
Britain. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
wild.
the fact that there were two people from Arkansas that I'd met, I'd never in my life thought I would find someone on Arkansas
Yeah,
from Arkansas in the YWC, and then boom, they're just right there.
there you are. Yeah, and yeah, snuck out of nowhere in the wrestling community,
Exactly. It's just
going to
crazy.
SmackDown, the Verizon Arena.
Verizon Arena SmackDown, and
What do
now
y'all
it's
know?
the Simmons Arena.
No Mercy O2, Brock Lesnar, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, that was that.
That was
That was way
Alltel
before my
Arena, but
time.
Little Rock. Yeah, I went when I was like freaking 5, 4. Dad took me. I barely remember it, but I know that we were there.
Yeah, that's a moment right there for sure.
Yeah.
But that's how it kind of started. And me and Destin, we talked all the time.
Oh
Me,
yeah.
Destin, and Danny. We were like, we were tight. We were the
There
clique.
were days where we'd just sit in Skype, and when we'd get off and you'd look at the Skype call and say you've been in Skype for 15 hours. Like, I'm not even kidding. I remember one time we like hung up. We had been there for 15 hours because there'd be the days there was a pay-per-view. We'd log on, start talking about the pay-per-view before the pay-per-view, do our predictions, and maybe like just like talk about whatever. And then we would do the pay-per-view. Then everybody would get in the podcast after the pay-per-view, and then we would be on during the day because we didn't do anything, especially in the summertime.
Hmm.
But then everybody else would get on late at night, so we would stay up late at night to like hang out and Skype with all the older guys.
Yeah, because you would get people that lived on the West Coast that would
Yep.
get on, and they'd be like 2 to 3 hours behind what we are, and then we'd end
Yep.
up waiting on them to get on, and then we'd all just be on all together, and it was just crazy how it all happened.
Absolutely. It was a good time, dude. Great memories.
It was. And me and Destin, I think one thing that we were definitely kind of famous for in our particular group is we were very big on watching like independent wrestling and Japanese wrestling.
Oh, dude, like I still will go back and watch some of those matches, and we were into it, and I loved it. It was my favorite thing to do. I would spend all day just watching the most random Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Okada. I remember you had Shingo. What was the Dragon Gate hair match that was crazy?
Oh
Uh,
man, I forget that one, but I remember
Shingo
what you're talking
versus
about.
Shingo somebody. You had like Hiroshi Tanahashi was big in Japan at the time. Prince Devitt, Kota Ibushi,
One
Kenta, of
one
course,
thing
was
that one
great.
thing that one match that definitely stands out to me is Kenta Marufuji from Noah.
Oh man, yeah, that match was crazy. That
I
match was
remember
great.
I remember
Kenta
we were
Marufuji, Kenta Marufuji.
we would just be hyping it up to the people in the Skype chat, and they'd be just like, "Shut up, talking about it
Yeah,
already."
yeah. But finally they came around, had some 12-year-olds letting you know. But, eventually all these guys we were telling everybody out are signed by the WWE. And now they're all like, they even went and signed all the guys from Japan at one point, I think. Who do they have over there now? I can't remember, but there's a couple guys from New Japan that back when we were really into it that are over in WWE right now. I know they signed Devitt for a period of time.
Sorry about that, everyone. I had a train come by, which is very unfortunate, and it's very loud, so I know people don't want to listen to that. But we were just kind of reminiscing on WWE and having these talents come over with people kind of like Prince Devitt, aka Finn Balor now, and all these indie talents. And actually, I think I saw something on Twitter where WWE pretty much said, "Hey, we're not really going to be signing any independent talent anymore. We're just going to kind of leave that to AEW."
I mean, heck, they can do their thing. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really kept up with it that much in a while. I don't know what the talent pool looks like, but from what I've seen, I would be way more interested in watching AEW right now than I would be WWE. And that's just from somebody who just barely keeps up with what's going on. I know CM Punk just came back, obviously, but even before that, I know they had Kenny Omega. I like last I had really watched wrestling was those matches he had with who was he he had like a couple really
Kota,
good who?
Kota Ibushi.
No, Dave Meltzer gave the match like 6 stars. Like yeah, no, I'm serious. And it's like the highest he ever gave a match. So let's see who it was. Dave Meltzer, Kenny. I can't remember who it was, but I watched this match and it was like fantastic. I just can't remember the wrestlers' names because they're Japanese.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah,
that's
he gave it,
understandable.
and he was like, I read like where it was Okada. That's who it was. It was
Okay.
Okada. No, he gave it 7 stars.
7 stars.
So
This man
yeah,
said 2 extra stars.
it broke the scale according to this guy. So knowing me, I used to always read the newsletter, so I had to go watch it. But yeah, Omega has always interested me. I always thought he was one of the better top guys in the world when we were watching. So. And I see Davey Richards is back now. I think he's
Yeah.
been doing a bunch of independent wrestling. So
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. Davey Richards was very huge with us. I remember, if you don't know, Davey Richards, he was a really popular independent wrestler.
he
What was
was
the
the guy.
years?
That was like 2000, probably 10 to 12. He was
Yeah,
like the top guy. Independent
2010 to
wrestling.
12, and his chase for the title was something me and Destin and others were heavily invested in.
It was amazing. It was
Yeah.
great.
And when he finally won the title, me and Destin got on here on Skype and we called Walmart, Best Buy.
Everywhere you could think of to let them know that Davey Richards was the ROH world champion. And, us and probably about the 40,000 other people alive on planet Earth who might have cared about that, they probably weren't on at Walmart when we were calling them. But hey, we let them know. We
Can
let
you
them know.
imagine? Can you imagine working at Walmart and then you get a call on the phone and it's some kid yelling, Davey Richards just won the title. Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
no, now that I actually like work, it's like probably would be like the most entertaining thing to happen in your day.
Yeah, it would be very entertaining to
It'd
hear.
be
I
like, what
promise.
in the world are these kids talking about? I remember we used to do all kinds of prank calls to like, remember we'd prank call Best Buy
Yes.
all the time. I don't, and Danny would like build a cart of like $400 worth of wrestling DVDs and then just hang up the phone.
Those poor workers, man.
Dude, oh my God, he would sit there. He pretend. We can't even get into it. We'll save that. But yeah, he would pretend he would be certain people.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
in
just
tears. I'm in
it
tears.
was it was good times on Skype. We were definitely just doing just the random stuff that kids that age would be doing just on Skype, just talking to random people. And I mean, I talked about this with Pico in the last one, and it's just crazy how people have just grown up with the internet. And you hear people saying, like back then, if you had just said, "Oh, I have a bunch of friends on the internet that I talk to every day," they'd be like, "What's going on here? That's kind of
Yeah,
crazy."
absolutely.
But I mean, it's very normal now. You just see these like stories of people going to meet their Xbox Live duo for the first time,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's just crazy seeing stuff like that.
It's completely normal. Like you said, it was viewed as weird when we were doing. I remember I didn't want anybody seeing my YouTube videos at school. I remember I took them down one time because people found them. Like,
Same thing happened to me.
yeah, and like I wish I wouldn't have been like that because, come to think of it, I was like a 15-year-old kid with 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Could have freaking done something, but honestly, a big regret of mine, if you want me to be honest with you, was stopping the YouTube thing.
Yeah,
Should have kept that going. I guess had a little bit of momentum for how young I was and how early the website was in its, lifetime.
yeah, especially back then, because I feel like audience retention was a lot easier back then in those days of YouTube.
Absolutely. There was a bigger connection. Yeah, like yeah, the algorithm wasn't like this insane thing you had to beat like it is now.
Hmm.
Uh like the algorithm's like a big boss fight. Everybody's just trying to find the right thumbnail, find the right title to freaking get their video to just pop up in your recommendeds.
Yeah, I mean it's a huge game. You got to
Yeah,
gamify it, and you got to figure out all the tricks and the trades, and then next thing you know, they switch up something else.
absolutely.
It's just crazy how it all happens.
Yeah, back in the
And
YouTube days. I mean, it was a good time. Like I just remember everybody there was that made videos and how big the YouTube community, wrestling community actually was. Like it was thriving there for a minute, where you just had all kinds of great people making content, reviewing all kinds of shows from all over the world, and just talking about it, having a good time, just sharing their thoughts on everything. You had guys who would do nothing but show off their new DVDs, and you had guys who would just, review every possible show they could. Which is
hmm
that's what I always enjoyed doing was just watching all the shows and reviewing them
yeah, and that was definitely something we always did. We just all sit there and just watch matches all day, especially
all
in the
day,
summer.
all
Summers,
day.
summers were legit.
I remember G1 Climax would come around. I was like, let's go. Just like there was always those like few YouTube accounts that would upload the Japanese matches, and you just have to like follow all of them in
hmm
order to like even be able to watch those matches because you couldn't get them on TV or anything like that. You ain't getting a DVD from Japan. That was back before. Because nowadays, if we would have had what like NJPW has now, where it's like they have English commentators, you can pay for like the subscription to watch all their stuff online. You know what I mean? Like that would have been that would have been awesome. I would have been in heaven with that. But now, like that's so easy now. But back then, I mean, it was hard to get your hands on the shows.
It really was, and that was part of the fun of it was the chase just to find it. I really wouldn't say the fun of it because that was definitely a struggle back then.
Absolutely. I remember Wrestle Kingdom 4. I remember being so excited for that show. It was like Tanahashi's big title match. He had Devitt Ibushi were like the two big matches of the night. And it might have been Tanahashi Okada. I can't remember. But I just remember like staying up all night to try and find a stream for that show, then not being able to find it and ended up having to download a torrent for like 2 days to finally be able to watch it.
Man, the torrents were the struggle whenever you had to do those.
Oh man.
They would take
Yeah.
so long, especially with internet speeds that we have compared to other people.
Oh my gosh. And then there'd be the drama about the people who didn't buy their DVDs, torrented all this. Some people would be like, Danny would always give people crap for torrenting a show.
Oh man, I mean, it was all crazy stuff back then.
For sure.
Um, one last thing we're going to talk about. Just throw a little bit of football in there. If you
Yeah,
don't
I
know
was, I
Destin,
was gonna say, let's talk some football.
Destin, he's a Cowboys fan. So that's his team that he roots for. How you feel about the boys this year?
Nah, not too good. I'll be happy, if I get to see Dak play 16 games. I think it's gonna happen. I think he's gonna start the season, so it should be good. I think we have a good receiver core. We should have a good offense. The defense is the big question mark. Hopefully,
Hmm.
Dan Quinn can bring something to us. Got a lot of experience. Head coached the team to the Super Bowl. Didn't end the game too well, but he got them there. Was the defensive coordinator for the Legion of Boom, so you would hope he could do something right. Still not sold on Mike McCarthy. Hopefully he can show me something this year. But yeah, the division is kind of weak though. So I still think even though we don't look like we can make a Super Bowl run or anything like that, I think we can make the playoffs if we win 9, 10 games.
Yeah, I do think the division's kind of weak. I think the main competition is going to be the Redskins.
Yeah, which is crazy to say. Or you mean the football
The
team?
football team. I'm so
The
used to
football
calling them
team.
the
Yeah.
Redskins. They've been the football team for a while. They just need an actual name.
Yeah, yeah, they do. I mean, at this point, I kind of like the football team. It's funny because I don't like them, and I like them having a stupid name.
I'm sure they'll get a name at some point. I'm surprised they don't have one yet.
Yeah, me too. So about the
Because,
Saints?
well, they are officially now relocated to Texas, Dallas
Come
area
on, we're
now
happy to have you.
for about a month, looking like. Jameis Winston was officially named the starter, which I'm excited about. And as far as how I think the season's going to go, I'm kind of down on it right now just because of injuries that have happened and suspensions that some players are having. I feel like the wide receiver core is pretty weak. Like, just to name off some names for Destin, because I don't know how closely he follows the Saints. Our wide receiver core consists of our number one wide receiver is Marquez Callaway. We also have Little Jordan Humphrey,
Hmm.
and Chris Hogan got released, but I'm sure he's going to come back.
Is Michael Thomas injured?
Yeah, he's injured.
How long is he going to be out?
They're thinking mid-October is when he'll come
Oh,
back.
that's rough. Yeah, so y'all have nobody out there.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
just gonna be Alvin Kamara.
yeah, poor Jameis and Alvin.
Yeah.
I'm glad y'all went with Jameis though. I've always been, even he had LASIK eye surgery. You know, maybe he's coming out there and he's going to be the greatest quarterback we've ever seen. I think, you know, if he's going to have a year, it's time for him to do it.
Yeah, I
He's got
mean,
an opportunity with a good head coach and a great system, despite, maybe the lack of talent at receiver without Michael Thomas in there. Even with Michael Thomas, it seems like y'all aren't very deep there, but it's a well coached team with a really good system. So he's going to
yeah.
have the opportunity for success.
I will say though, in that preseason game against the Jaguars, I know the Jaguars are kind of a mad team right now. They're kind of on the up and up. But Jameis and Marquez Callaway, they looked amazing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, Jameis went 9 for 10 on his drives, 2 touchdowns, both kind of deep balls to Marquez Callaway, and the first touchdown he threw was the longest air yard the Saints have had since 2016.
Oh, wow.
And I feel like it was only like a 50-yard touchdown or something like
Yeah,
that.
Jameis has a cannon. He can get it out there.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot different than what Drew Brees was post, I'll say 2015.
Yeah, I still think, Drew Brees is like arguably the most like accurate to ever do it. He
Oh
was
yeah,
good for y'all for until the very end. It's gonna be weird not seeing him out there. I was always a big fan.
it really will be really weird,
It's gonna
and
be
I
real
don't.
weird for you.
It's going to be real weird for me. I'm not. I don't know how I'm going to feel about it, but we'll see how it goes with the season.
It happens,
Um,
I remember when we lost Tony
yeah,
Romo. It was heartbreaking, but
it worked out for
it's
y'all. Y'all had
yeah.
the best
Dak
of Dak.
Dak turned out pretty good. Hopefully, Dak's a great quarterback. Hopefully, he can play the whole year this year. I think if he can play the whole year, stay healthy, we'll have a chance to win some games.
Where do you think Dak would rank among the quarterbacks? Like, what are you thinking? Top
I
five?
think he's
Top?
top five. I think he's
Yeah.
top five. Absolutely. I think he has shown over the past 2 years that he has elevated his game as a passer, you know, in a way that puts him ahead of a lot of the quarterbacks that people would have said he was in competition with. You look at everybody who they've compared him to over the past few years. I think he's the best young quarterback. I mean, some people might disagree with this, but I think when it comes to young quarterbacks, you got Pat Mahomes and I think then you got Dak, if you want me to be honest with you, when it comes to that generation of QB. Some people might say Lamar Jackson. I think Dak's a better passer than Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, you can say what you want there. Wonder if he'll ever play again. But like, I still think Dak's better than him. Some people were saying Carson Wentz was better than Dak. How'd that go? Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I think Dak, he's fought through it all, proved he's a player, and if he can just stay healthy for a whole year and keep that consistency he was showing when he was in last year, he'll, be setting season records for the Cowboys in no time.
Yeah. Because if you give me a healthy Dak, and I think he'll especially climb up people's list if he stays healthy this year because the way he was looking last year early on was insane. I mean, he's putting up crazy numbers. And I mean,
Absolutely.
granted, it kind of got elevated due to how bad the defense played last year.
Absolutely.
And because, I mean, I've seen it too. Drew Brees threw for like freaking 5,400 yards because our defense couldn't do nothing.
Yep.
Um, but I mean, that's just the position he's put in. And I mean, the offense is crazy. It's going to be really good, I think, as long as Dak's there. I know there's a rumor that the Cowboys are already looking into Cam Newton, so that's a thing.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good backup.
Yeah.
Uh, Apparently Cam's caused some drama over in New England that with not wanting to get vaccinated or something like that. But you never want drama in the locker room. So if we do
Uh-uh.
sign him, hopefully they can figure that out.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely a big thing. But anyways, I think that's a good place to stop it off at, Destin. I want to thank you for hopping on here. I'm glad to have brought you back into the space just to kind of just shoot the shit about Donda, of course, which is fun to talk about. And we both had quite a bit to say about that. And talking a little bit about your Cowboys and reminiscing on the YWC days.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a good time. Thanks everybody for checking it out.
No doubt. And I'm sure you'll be on another time someday.
Oh yeah, looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, man. Okay. As just to say it, I appreciate you coming on. And everyone, thanks for listening. More episodes coming soon. Hopefully, we'll be on Apple Podcasts soon. I'm thinking, so I'm excited for that. So, peace, everybody, and thank you.